Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly SIG Compute meeting. Let me paste again the agenda notes if you want to add any topics for today. In the meantime, we can have a look on the quarantine list, quarantine test list. We've been discussing changing the quarantine policy. But either way, there are a lot of quarantine tests, and we really need people to have a look on them. So, I won't ask here if there are any volunteers, but just so you know, this will be greatly helpful. So if somebody has the time and the bandwidth, please have a look on those. If you need any help or anything like that, just reach us out. Any questions about that? Any thoughts? All right. So our agenda is completely empty today. If there are topics, please add them now. We can have a glance on the list of apps that we are tracking for this release. If there is anyone here that needs any help with their app or
Itamar?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but there has been an entry for today, one page below. I did that earlier today. Sorry.
Oh, got you. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It rather looks we have a lot of the agenda.
Sorry. And I thought we have nothing to talk about. Okay, yeah, Michal, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so again, I just added topics that felt like important. So yeah, there was this direct sync and non-cache modes change that I basically just picked up last week from an earlier attempt from a couple months ago. Was probably a bit naive of me because it looked originally as, it's like almost there and the original submitter just lost interest. But it seems it kind of stirred the pot a little bit because it is, as we've discussed a couple times before, kind of exposing low-level options and extending the API a little bit as well. People seem to have strong feelings about it. Especially Vladik. I'm not sure if Vladik's here. No. So then I wonder if, there are some further thoughts by anybody, because from my perspective, this change is really just sort of slightly extending the current API with cache modes that do have justification. I mean, there are use cases for those, but I also understand the argument that, oh yeah, this is yet another low-level knob and we already have too many. But honestly, I don't really see an easy way around that, because I think that's just the way things are. I mean, there are indeed many low-level knobs, but there's also use cases for them. So yeah, again, just wondering if anybody has thoughts.
I think that I already shared my thoughts. So without entering the technical details of that new values, it feels to me like it's bypassing the definition of if you change the API, which means that I can put now a different value in the API, and you allow me to do that, and you document it, then it's supposed to go through a web, even if the web is half a page long, and you need to give the reasoning why it is needed, where it is used, what is its usefulness, and so on. I know it's a bureaucratic thing, but we have a lot of fields that have multiple values. I can tell you from networking that we have a lot of them, and we are not exposing all of them. But if I want now to expose all of them, you are saying that I can do that and I can bypass the regular flow.
So
Yeah,
that's
it.
an interesting thing. Like, I mean, you phrase it as bypassing. I don't really see it that way, but I think it's a fair point that it seems like from your perspective, like every single change in an API should have a web. If
Yes.
that's a, well, so again, that might be a fair point. I just wonder if that's really aligned with everyone because I've also heard complaints on the migration related webs that they're overly verbose and maybe we don't really need the one that Asir had created. Um, so if that's again, I don't have a problem with that either way, but it probably really should be made clearer whether every single API change needs that or not. I mean, Itamar, I guess you've been mostly shepherding this VEP process things. Like, do you have any opinion about that?
I mean, I think it's somewhat in a gray area. I don't think that any value for any API field, needs a web. On the other hand, I think it does need a web if it's, not trivial or yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question. But glancing over Vladik's comments here, I don't think that, at least from his side, this was the main argument. I think that what he's trying to say is that it's basically an unsafe thing to do, and a user might choose this without without fully understanding the implication of that. I don't think that it's also about just exposing a low-level null. I think that sometimes it does make sense to expose the null. The question is if first, if there is a clear use case for that, which is applicable to many users, not just one niche user somewhere. And second of all, if it doesn't cause people to shoot themselves in the foot. Because if it's something that is needed for a very niche case, then it could be implemented with a plugin. Yeah, but aside from that, I need I mean, it was on my checklist to get into that, and I still need to read all the comments here.
What I also find problematic with this line of thought is that, and again, it's been, at least I have observed that in the past webs as well, is that yes, naturally people ask for the use cases and some sort of evidence for the claims being made in those PRs and webs. But it's really not clear where is the line of, what's really a niche use case, what's really a mainline use case. Like it makes it hard really to identify the right level of detail and even the right mechanism, considering Eddie's comment, how to deliver these things.
Well, we need to understand that. I think, from my point of view, sorry if I'm jumping in. I think that this is a different kind of product. I mean, it's both worlds of maybe combination of data center, but mostly cloud experience. And in cloud experience, I think the majority of these tunables, I mean, it's not always makes sense in like grand theme of scheme. A scheme of themes, but it should be just smart enough to kind of detect what we do need and what we do need to set in specific environments. If we need tunables, okay, if we need specific tunables, that's fine. But we kind of need to justify if it's really we want to put this burden on the user. In the end, they are running hundreds and thousands of VMs, and configuring each one, to specific needs, whether it will land on a specific node in a specific environment, it's less desirable in this line of thinking. So
I'm sorry, but I agree, but I think these are two kind of conflicting requests being made, where on one hand, there's a pushback on introducing basically enums just because, they're low level and there's no magic around them. But then if you would want to actually do the automated solution, then you need to gain some experience with these settings. And the answer is usually like, yeah, all right, you could do it via a plugin or, on a different product even, right? On a bare QML, let's say. But that doesn't ever get enough exposure. So it's the lack of adding the low-level knobs is kind of blocking you from getting more experience and more data to actually implement that magic behavior that would, solve the knowledge problem, right? I think
Well,
it really goes.
but you cannot create a stable API just for experimentation, right? These knobs are kind of becoming something that Kubernetes supports. It's not even
Yeah,
behind FeatureGate. It's just something that supports, and we don't know here that how this affects live migration. For example, this uh, um, unsafe feature, like a unsafe tunable that we want to introduce here. It's unsafe for a reason. I mean, it was called unsafe because it's unsafe, because it's unsafe for live migration. But we don't block live migration with this, with this proposal, and all kind of other things. So I mean, if that would be a plugin, I don't see an issue with delivering this to whoever wants and see how that breaks. But the responsibility won't be on this project. It would be on somebody who is deploying that.
I mean, yes, but again, I think we have the same argument and same discussion even for things that don't end up, being removed, but really just become a low-level configurable for a niche use case. And that, in my opinion, that is the case of many of these values that have, five, six different enums. It's not like there's any single one of them that is useless. There is a use case for each of them, but not the main one, right? So it's not, I don't really see it as an experimentation for each value. I rather see it as an experimentation from the perspective of this particular value becoming a new default, or, gathering enough evidence that this is actually a better choice than what Kubernetes has today. And I think this is the argument being made for the direct sync, um, actually, in the long run.
So I don't have any kind of evidence right now that it's actually improving anything. So that's my problem. I mean, it just someone made some kind of um,
Exactly. I mean,
but what is
exactly.
this?
Indeed, exactly. And that's the thing. Without actually making it available in Cooper in some way, we're never going to get past that because there's not going to be a widespread adoption. I mean, we'll only get isolated reports from specific people focusing on this knob that will run a certain scenario, and that may show amazing results, but it's never going to tell us whether that's a good default for everybody. And
No, but
that,
this is just not something that is doable. I mean, we cannot experiment on the customers.
I disagree, really. Like it's. I mean, it's not experimentation. It's different
It
options.
is because we don't know how
Experiment.
it works. We don't know what kind of trouble they can run into. That's why we can run a beta period or something like this. Deliver it behind the feature gate. Who wants to enable it, or shadow reporter of some kind. But we just
Oh no,
cannot.
no. Yeah, yeah. That's like that's fair as well. But again, it seems like the arguments being made are, like a dismissal from the get-go, pretty much. Like, it's like I don't want to extend this enum because now I have too many enums. Like, but you can't get to that feature, even if you want to hide it behind the feature gate, if you don't extend the enum. So I don't
But
know.
it
No,
doesn't.
I
Sorry.
think
Also,
it's different. Sorry, I have like I think this is like a bit trying to. I don't know. It feels like you are asking to put in something in order to have experience with it. So the project, and I think it pretty much mimics Kubernetes as well. The project says, please do not try experiments on me. Please try your experiments on some other downstream or some other prove it that it is good, it is useful, it gives us value, and then argue that it can be added. I think this is the idea, and I think the plugin that we are trying to push in for the next release should solve this problem of introducing this kind of things.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to cut this discussion off. It's really interesting, but we have tons of topics left. So thank you, Michal, for that, and yeah, we can continue discussing it on the next meeting maybe. I see that you do have another topic here, right?
Yeah, hopefully quick. Thanks. So this is just a basically a question. This has been motivated by some discussion I've had with Lubo a couple of weeks back about C groups as a follow-up of the C group change. So sorry, the run C change transition to C run, whatever you want to call it. That Lubo highlighted that we basically replaced the eBPF filter, sort of bypassing all the security setup that Kubernetes do with our own filter. And I was wondering if there's an interest in a solution that is focusing on, instead of replacing the device filtering with just amending the existing filter that then just extends the filter with whatever devices KubeVirt needs. It's not a very beautiful code because it still interacts with the internals of how C groups are set up. But on the other hand, it is, I believe, a lot better to just amend whatever the underlying runtime creates rather than sort of blindly replacing it with our own copy and paste we did a couple of years back.
Yeah, so from my
please, sorry.
So from my perspective, it looks good. It sounds good. I also had that in general, the C group handling is not the most beautiful corner on the code base, let's say. So there are a lot of things to improve there, and yeah, this is probably one of them. So yeah, it generally sounds really good to me.
Okay, I was just wondering if it's worth it because it's still not really aligned with any clean interface or anything like that, because there's still not any generic way or supported way in Kubernetes to do the things that we need to do. But at least it stops us overriding things entirely. And consequently, or coincidentally, there's a similar issue with seccomp filter where we also kind of replaced the whole thing, and there might be some still dirty, but a better solution where we could just add the necessary syscalls to the list instead of replacing. So yeah, if that's worth it, I could continue on that.
Cool. Yeah, I'd have to look on the code itself because I'm not sure how it's even. Yeah, I'm not sure how it's being done. But yes, in general, sounds good.
Yeah,
so yeah, thank you, and I will have a look.
Itamar, yeah, if you could provide feedback, that would be great. I'm not particularly happy how it looks. I think it is better, and it is better in a principle as well. But it's like replacing ugly code with another ugly code. All right, thanks.
Thank you, and then yeah, you're next.
Okay, the first one is about one little bug that is with reserved overhead, which is that if someone configures added overhead, but not memlock added overhead is just injected into the memory that is locked, if there is something else that triggers the memlock setting mechanism. So if, for example, if there is a BFIO device or vGPU, SRIOB, whatever, the memlock setting mechanism gets triggered, and the added overhead gets just injected there for that reason, because it just gets the result of get memory overhead, which already adds this little thing there. There are different ways of fixing this, of course. One simple way was just subtracting it in case it's not needed. It's kind of smells workaround, I know, but well, it's there and properly documented. I guess it could be fine. However, apart from bringing about awareness to this to those who can actually review this and move it forward, I was interested knowing what you think about this. This is just something that gets graduated into beta in the next release, and there is some other VEP being brought by Lee, which could, I'm really sure, provide a better way of fixing this issue. So just a question about the attitude towards this situation.
Sorry. So two things. First of all, I'm just trying to understand the. You're saying that someone had an initial VM and it didn't have a lock, but it did expose. It did set a memory overhead, and then once the VM is running, you just modifying that existing VM and setting a lock, and then the overhead being added.
That's another issue I opened. This is another one. This is you just create one VM in which for some reason you added overhead, but memlock is set to not required. So you shouldn't be locking that added overhead. And the user for some reason also has BFIO devices attached to that VM. So you create it from scratch, and what you get is a VM in which the memlock limits include both the limits needed for the BFIO device plus the added overhead, which the user didn't mean to be locked.
But the moment you have VFIO device, all of that memory has to be locked.
That's what I thought, but for some reason the user is setting that to memlock not required. So I wasn't sure about what we should actually do with this.
QEMU and Libert will have to log that. Well, QEMU definitely logs all the VM memory plus some fudge factor. But the problem is with Libert that Libert is trying to log the number of devices multiplied by the guest memory, and it's like becoming an enormously huge thing. So then, in order to accommodate that, we have to do the same. Yeah. So that's a bug, and then we need to speak with Libert. So the problem here is that we don't distinguish between actual overhead that is needed and the PR limit that we're setting. So we spoke with them, and I don't know if Lee is on the call, but we wanted to make this distinguishment and even to try to understand if this PR limit that they are setting is even needed. So this is something that we are currently discussing. So I'm not sure when this conversation will converge. But yeah, I understand that this is a problem, and it's a problem that's affecting not only this API but just our current behavior in general. But if to be consistent with our current behavior, then our current behavior just takes all of our overhead and assumes that Libert will lock it. So I think that whatever you're describing right now is consistent with something that we'll want to change in the future. So, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe we should leave this in beta until we will figure this problem out. But I don't know. Is Lee on the call?
Yeah, I'm here, and the draft extension that I've got for this VEP is more about just ensuring that we did that calculation, the automatic calculation for the amount of memory to lock once, and then provided it to handler and launcher through the VMI status. So one could actually do the actual locking, and the other could provide hard limit to the libvirt domain to disable all of their checks, essentially Vladik. So having that singular place though to calculate everything would potentially resolve the bug that was just being described. But yeah, this isn't in scope until 110, so I probably jumped the gun by posting this draft for now.
Yeah, but then also there's this distinction that libvirt is making for VDPA devices, specifically that they still do something different with them, right?
What additionally different to what they're doing with VFIO?
Yes.
So the calculation.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're still carrying. So I thought the idea from the discussion with libvirt was that we would carry the calculation.
But
So
is there
this
an
is
actual overhead? I mean, that's for VFIO devices. We know what it is, and then I'm not sure why their calculation is the way it is. So we could definitely pivot and then set PR limit on higher number and not to carry it in the overhead. But what they do for VDPA, I don't understand. Is it the
They have
same?
something similar, I would say. That they just have like MBFIO plus MVDPA plus NVMe or something like that, and then just multiply that by the VM memory, and then add the 1 GB of the IOMMU section in memory, I believe.
So the actual overhead of 1 GB is.
I mean,
The same for VDPA as well?
the gigabyte just comes apart. Like it's another thing. So you have like the VM memory times n devices, let's say, no matter VDPA or BFIO, plus 1 GB, I think. I don't have the code just in front of me right now, but that's what I remember.
Okay.
But well,
Yeah, I mean the main issue is that I mean right now the whatever we're looking is it can easily exceed the amount of memory there is on the node, right? If you have a large VM with large amount of memory, then the PR limit will be the number of that amount of memory multiplied by the number of devices, and that could be much bigger than the node. So at this point, I don't see a value in this at all. So we could split the functionality of what we set in PR limit and what we do for overhead. But yeah, it's kind of need to be consolidated and organized.
Yeah, and just with this feature gate, you're suggesting it's going to beta in 1.9, right, at the moment?
yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if we want to take a breath on that and just try and consolidate a little bit more in 1.10 before we move to beta.
I mean, yeah, okay. When I opened the BEP, actually, I was trying to bring some discussions, so we could decide whether we would like to, reconsider some things, not exactly this one, but other things. So before we moved it into beta, so yeah, I don't have a problem with it if it's not too late, to bring it back now that the BEP was accepted, but.
It's not too late. I mean, we can move back. That's not the issue. The issue is that we need to figure out a way, like a path forward. In general, I like that API that anyone can express that I need more overhead. So the API itself, I do like that idea, but the what actually we do with overhead NPR limit, that's a secondary problem.
Thank you for this discussion. I will also, I also saw this and it's also on my checklist. Yeah, I will definitely also get into this one. We have reached time, so I'm sorry for all the folks that didn't have time to speak. I will create the agenda entry for the next meeting and put you first, so you can talk first at the next meeting. So thank you for everyone, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jesse. Yep.
Just bye.